You hear the sirens. We see the lights. We pull over without thinking twice. You're first to answer when fate rings the bell. You charge without fear into the hot gates of hell. You lay down your life for a complete stranger. Your dedication, it knows no danger. Kids, they think you're made of steel, but your pain is so real. Thank you for yesterday. And my thoughts and prayers are with you today.
It's a pleasure to introduce the Motivational Cowboy, Johnny D.
All right, it's me, it's Johnny D, and it is another episode of Outstanding Life Podcast. This one's titled Firehouse Heroes, and I am sitting with two heroes right now. I am sitting with Rob and Chelsey. They are two union firefighters from Motown.
State of Michigan, baby.
That's right, man. Hey, listen, guys, I mean, this is the coolest thing in the world. I've been trying to get you guys here for at least a couple weeks now. It is the coolest thing. I mean, kids, adults want to be you guys. It is so cool. I mean, you could have picked anything in the world to do. Anything.
Yeah.
You picked to be a firefighter. Why? Why? And at what age, Chelsey, I'm going to go with you first. I mean, at what age did you finally look in that mirror and say, you know what, this is what I want to do? I mean, was your dad a firefighter? Was your uncle? I mean, was it in the family? I mean, what was it that made you want to be a firefighter?
I actually started wanting to be a firefighter when I was in kindergarten. My mom still to this day has,
Really?
when you want to grow up, what do you want to be? And it says firefighter. And I was always told you couldn't do it. So when I was 18, I was graduating. I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And I went and did it, and I joined the academy, and here I am now.
Wow. So you knew right away.
I knew I wanted to be a firefighter.
That is so crazy. Rob, how about you? I mean, at what age did you finally say, you know what, this is what I want to do? Or was it like, hey, listen, I went to college, I tried everything else, and this is what I ended up with?
Kind of that route, man. To be honest, I originally went to school to be an engineer at U of M, Dearborn.
Wait, that's a huge difference. Engineer, firefighter.
Well, I always, when I was a kid, I always liked, watching, see the fire trucks drive around and whatnot. But I went to school to be an engineer. I had a scholarship going for me. And then I remember sitting there one day in an engineering web-based class. And I remember thinking to myself, I never want to do this ever in my life. Because all you do is sit around a computer all day. It's like, that's not what I am. I want to be hands-on. I want a new thing every day. And so I decided, I was talking to my buddy one day too, and he was a firefighter. And he was telling me a story about how he went to a house fire, and I was just like, man, that is so cool. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing. So I remember telling my parents, hey, I'm done with engineering. I'm going to go to school to be a fireman. So they gave me the blessing, and there it was. Started from there.
So I have to ask, guys, have you ever did an interview like this? Have you ever been on a podcast? Have you ever been on TV? I gotta ask, because I mean, it was funny because I think all three of us were a little nervous to hit that record button.
Yeah,
and Chelsey even said, "Hey, listen, you being nervous, Johnny D, is making me nervous."
Yeah.
But have you guys ever been interviewed on TV or radio or anything like that, or is this your first time?
No, that's the first time. Well, the only other time I got an interview was with my chief, one.
Were you in trouble?
No, I was trying to get the job so I could do this. And the second time, by multiple lawyers. And that was for depositions for calls I've been on and whatever else. So, yeah, that was a little nerve-wracking, but, it was definitely different.
So how about you, Chelsey? Have you ever been interviewed on a show?
I've actually been interviewed on the news before, trying to adopt a dog for our fire department.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So listen, one thing I did this morning is I wanted to look up a bunch of stuff, but one thing that I saw, it seemed like the interview process was the toughest. I mean, there's books that have been written.
Yeah.
There's so many crazy things. I'm like, wait a second. I'm just looking up interview questions, and it is nothing but interview questions that they are interviewing you to get the job. And Rob, something that people don't know
is you got started in this about 11 years ago, right?
Yeah, 11 years ago.
And I was a part of that. I mean, I remember the day that we were having a couple cold beverages, and we were talking about what you wanted to do, and then I was actually on your form for people to call.
Yeah,
and I mean,
absolutely.
you were even going out of state to get Texas. I think you were
Yeah,
you were going to go out there, and I remember people calling. And I mean, they were like drilling me, and I'm like, "Holy cow! I can't even imagine what it's like being you guys."
Yeah, times 10.
Is it as tough as everybody says it is when you are going through the interview process?
It is. I mean, there's they put a lot of things, towards you, like your background, your childhood. They interview your teachers. They interview.
Wait, really? Your teachers?
Yeah, they go back to all. You get to label everything. Even label like when you went to like kindergarten and also that. I mean, there was. At least when I was going through the process 11 years ago, it was pretty in depth with it.
Wow.
I mean, they interviewed everyone that you knew pretty much. It was pretty wild.
So at what age, though, you said you were going to be you knew at kindergarten.
I knew at
you knew right away. You knew that, hey, you know what? This is what I'm going to be. Rob, at what age did you finally, I don't think I got that out of you yet.
No, I'm trying to keep that secret there for a little while, man. Well, originally, I mean, like I said, I liked watching the trucks come by and all stuff like that when I was younger, 7, 8. But I think when I made my final decision when I wanted to be a fireman was when I was 18. I mean, as soon as I went to school and I knew that engineering wasn't for me.
So did you guys have to go through like an academy, just like police officers do?
Yeah.
And walk us through that, because I heard that was brutal as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, say it was as hard as like a boot camp for military, but it was kind of like a boot camp for military, but you went home at night. So you get there at 7:00 in the morning.
Oh, you didn't have to stay there for a couple months.
No, you do.
I didn't know
PT
that.
every morning. Do push-ups, all that stuff like that. You got in line. You did your make sure your uniform was pressed and your shoes were shined. And I swear,
did you have someone do that for you?
Oh, heck no.
Rob, I'm looking at you right now. Obviously, you have somebody doing that.
All right, my mom
you.
did it for a little while. No. My mom pressed my
And
clothes.
I know
I'm
your
not gonna lie.
mom,
Yeah.
Matter
Listen,
of fact, your dad does the laundry for your mom now.
I took pride. I shined my shoes. Come on now. No.
That is so.
Yeah,
that's
but
awesome.
it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a good process. Like I said, we did PT every morning. We had lunch. We had a walk-in cadence all the time. We sing running cadence. Like I said, it was like if I were to describe it, there's a lot of people in the military that described it as being a boot camp, but I went home at nighttime. So.
Right. Chelsey, how about for you? Did you get into the academy, and did you think to yourself, what the heck did I get myself into? Or did you take it head on saying, this is awesome. This is exactly what I've been working for since I was in kindergarten?
I remember driving there, I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going for it. And then when I walked in, I was like, oh, crap. And when you walk in the doors and everyone turns right at you and looks, it's like, who's this chick? I'm blonde hair walking in, and it got no respect when I first walked in, but it was hard. I can't lie. It was tough going through it.
Were you the only one in your class that was a woman?
I had one other female, but the joke was, what bathroom was she going to go into? So
let me ask you that. So 2 girls out of how many in your class? Was there a bunch?
29, I want to say.
Did that motivate you, knowing that people probably said, they'll never make it? Did that motivate you? Did that negative energy, did you look at it in a positive way and say, you know what, you guys have no clue what you're messing with?
I couldn't wait to prove everyone wrong. That was like my goal. It's like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. And
you did.
I did. I went through academy and I kicked butt.
What was the toughest part of the academy? Because like I've been through some of the academy training in Texas, and it was hard enough to walk up the stairs, and I think it's 4 or 5 flights.
Oh yeah, 5 flights.
But then you put 100 pounds of gear on, and you better forget it. I mean, it was like, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, hey, where's the elevator here? But what was it like for you guys? Like, because you had to like get into things that we've never experienced, especially you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the toughest thing for you to overcome?
Mine, I'm going to say the confined spaces. Going into these tight little corners with all this gear on and not knowing if you're going to get out of it or not. And if your partner had your back or not. Especially with all these guys who didn't really respect me or like me in the beginning. It was tough to get their respect. So I knew I had to pull my own weight just as much as they pulled theirs to get their respect.
But they had to almost respect you because of the fact you were part of the team.
In a sense.
So, right? So at some point, they were like, I don't want to see you make it. But then another side, they were like, okay, she has to make it because she's my partner now.
Exactly. So it was always like, okay, who's going to be my partner for the day? But I always had this one guy who was like, we can do it. Let's do it. And
That's awesome.
he stuck. I actually became company commander of our academy. And so I had 9 guys underneath me.
That's
which
awesome.
They didn't like, but
Yeah.
I ended up earning my respect, and I became best friends with these guys. And
How many months was it?
I want to say about 9 months.
Holy cow, it was 9 months.
What's
With both semesters of Fire 1 and Fire 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 9 months. And I mean, it was every day. I mean, you're with these guys all day long. You're eating with them. You're working with them.
I interrupted just because I was thinking of that next question, but you said they finally said what to you? You were talking about the academy, and those guys finally said to you, I don't know what it was either. Because I was just having so much fun. I was like, oh my God, I got to ask you this. But you talked about confined spaces. Let me tell you, when I had I did a ride along, or what would you call it, where someone actually spends 24 hours.
We call it a third ride.
A third ride.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I literally spent 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they literally had an old trailer, basically, that they had confined space training.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they stuck me in there with everything. And that was, I'll never forget it. I think I have nightmares because it was dark,
Yeah.
smoky,
Cold.
and all you had was somebody talking in your ear that was actually on the other end.
You barely hear them.
And you barely hear them, and they're making noise, they're pounding on it, it's trying to scare the crap out of it, which I was already scared anyway, just putting on all the gear.
Yeah.
How did you finally overcome something like that? Just by doing it every day?
By doing it and trusting my partner that was behind me.
Rob,
Yeah.
how about you? What was the toughest thing for you in the academy?
Oh man, probably they call it the killer, which is the obstacle course. You had to pass it, otherwise you didn't pass the academy. So, and that was like a pretty intense obstacle course of. putting all the
So
gear
was it
on.
okay? In my mind, I think of an America Ninja Warrior. Was it like an
Yeah.
obstacle course
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, I'd pretty much say it was. Jeez, it felt like it. Gee, wish I got a trophy and I got done with it too.
So you guys graduated. You got your certificate.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long did it take you to get a job after that? Rob, I know for you,
it was for. I mean,
it seemed
took
like
me a
forever
while,
for
yeah.
you.
It took me about 2.5 years to do it. I mean, there's other stuff you got to go do it too anymore because any kind of fireman anymore is a crossbreed like of a paramedic or an EMT.
And you guys both
base.
are EMTs as well,
Paramedics.
right? Paramedics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, originally I went to school. I went to an EMT school first. That way, I was able to get a career going with my EMT medical field.
And
Then
that's not easy either.
No, that was a pretty decent class, whatever. And then you go to fire academy. Once I did that, I was able to get a job at and kind of volunteer or something like that. And then you go to paramedic, which is if you go through a semester of college, it's like three or four semesters. But I went to a private academy, which was 12 hours a day, 1 day a week for 42 weeks. It was accelerated.
It's
class.
just like a military
It was,
style.
yeah.
You wear uniforms. You got to be
Really?
straight
Yeah,
edge.
it was pretty tough. It was
Boot
paramedic
shine.
is no joke. I mean, it's like you're pretty much a doctor on wheels. They call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsey, did you go through the same thing?
Same thing. Yep.
Wow,
Took
that
me
is so
about
cool.
2 years as well.
So you guys got a job. You're loving life. Take us through for the 98% of the people out there that they've never done what you guys are doing day to day. Take us through just a 1 day, what it's like. You wake up, it's your time to go to work.
Yeah.
Walk us through this.
Well, so you wake up in the morning. We start shift at 7 o'clock. So
So it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Oh, okay,
24-hour
7 a.m.
shift. Yeah, we run 24-hour shifts. So the unwritten rules would be 15 minutes early, otherwise you're late. So because never fails. You get
Have you
late.
ever been late, Rob?
Yeah, maybe once, but I'm not gonna say much. But anyways, you wake up at 6 o'clock at home, get shower, shave, get back to get driving to work, and get there 6:45. Grab a cup of coffee, start doing a debriefing with the other guys that are there, kind of see how their day went, what to look forward to.
So the guys and the girls that had the shift prior to you, correct?
Yeah, yep,
Is that
yep.
what you're saying?
Yeah, the
Okay.
shift prior or whatever. You talk to them, kind of find out how the ambulance or how the fire engine's looking, and they any calls that are they might have had some serious equipment being used that we had to go back and look at, make sure everything was there, accountability wise.
Or even if they had a bad call.
Yeah, if I had a bad call, what it was, and kind of see if ambulance needs to be cleaned or whatever else, because it never fails. Everyone throws up everywhere, and they
Yeah.
blood everywhere. So so you get there in the morning, do that kind of stuff. Get your gear all on the truck. Check your SCBA, which is your lifeline for fire. That's your breathing apparatus.
Thank you for like telling me because I have no idea what you're talking about. So
SCBA
you looked at me, you're like, okay, I better let him know what this means.
SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. That's pretty much what everyone thinks. We got oxygen on us. It's not oxygen, it's just compressed air.
Okay, so is that the big tank?
That's a big tank.
How much does that tank actually weigh? And Rob, don't tell me like 150 pounds. Because Chelsey, I know Rob's going to look at me and say, yeah, well, Johnny, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So I was squatting yesterday, and no, it's about 35 pounds.
Now, is that 35 compressed with air?
Yeah, well,
okay.
Air's kind of, I mean, it doesn't change if it's
it doesn't
full or
change?
empty. No.
Okay,
no.
gotcha.
There's no weight in the air. I mean, you're not going to notice difference, but when it's, of course, when you're in a fire, though, it's always 10 pounds heavier than that. You know,
right.
Plus, when you get your gear on, it's another 60, 70 pounds.
So you debrief, you get all your equipment, you take theirs off, you put yours on.
They take theirs off because that's their equipment. You make sure, and then everyone knows that no one else touched their stuff. That way, you know, when you left it, that's the way, you know, you go put it back on there. It's what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then we do that. We start doing our truck checks, start going over that, make sure.
So you basically have chores?
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean,
Chelsea's like, yes.
So it gets better. Trust me, it gets better. So we check our truck. Then from there, after truck is checked, then we go do all of our daily duties, which are like.
So what are daily duties?
Daily duties would be the laundry,
the toilet,
the toilet.
Wait a second, I have a housekeeper for all that.
Yeah. You're talking to him right now. Yeah, I am the housekeeper. No. Yeah, usually the group of guys would.
So you guys
it,
actually have to do all that stuff too?
It's our house.
Yeah,
I think we lived there for 24 hours. I mean, they figured out we lived at this fire station for, if you have a 30-year career, you're living there almost 7.5 to 8 years straight of your time. Because we work 121 24-hour shifts a year.
So bathrooms, truck washing. I've always wondered. I always see this on TV. I couldn't wait to ask you guys this. So I always see that there's always one that either people don't like, and they stick them on the duty of cooking.
Yeah.
Is that just a facade of like? Is that Hollywood? Or is that part of, hey, you know what, the new guy, the new girl is going to start cooking for us?
You know, I mean, personally,
or maybe even cleaning up, because I can't even imagine cleaning up after.
Well, the cleaning up for sure is the new guy. That just and you know what? That's how we earn respect. I mean, everyone's a new guy at one point. I mean, I was a new guy for a little while ago. That's how you get your respect from these guys. You know, you go in there and you take their plates from them, you treat them with manners, and they will hopefully treat you like a person. You know what I mean? It's
Chelsey, Rob, how tough is that? I mean, we're adults,
Listen,
like right.
Yeah.
I mean, so and I know that because it's not just being firefighters; it's about everyday life that we show respect, and it's not always easy to show respect.
Right.
When you, first of all, you're excited because you just accomplished a dream, Chelsey. I mean, you were that little girl in kindergarten wanting to do this, and now you're like, I am not cooking and cleaning. Like, you know, I got a job finally. Like, how tough is that for you guys to one, have to do it, but then to also see the new guy or the new girl coming through that you're like, you know what? I remember that. I remember being them.
It's tough. You're kind of like, oh, why do I have to do all this? But then you go in and you're like, this is my house too. I need to make it my house too. I have these responsibilities. I have to cook. I hate cooking.
So I'm just curious. Are you good?
Well, let's just say that I don't ever cook at the fire
Some would
station
say.
anymore.
I was waiting for her to say it's edible, but it's not even edible.
No, I cooked my first.
There's a reason why they have a dog at the fire station now.
Exactly.
There we go. I just thought about that.
Food poisoning.
I gave 3 of the guys their food poisoning for my chili. I never have to cook again. So my plan worked.
That is so funny, Rob. How about you? I mean, because I actually know that you are a good cook. So does that suck for you? Because you know what, he's good. Let's let him cook.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is. I mean, you take pride in your meals. You know, it actually makes you feel better about it. You know, and all these guys, like I said, it's all about that trust and all about that brotherhood there. So when you show them that you can do these type of things and you're willing to do them and you're open for all these new things for them, you know, cooking for them and cleaning up their stuff, they eventually learn that respect for you, and that's how you become part of one of the brotherhood.
I'm just curious, how long does it take for that respect to come? Because I'm just thinking to myself,
some still don't even have it.
Yeah.
Some days you still earn it, and some days you don't. You know, it's just a matter of time.
Chelsey, Rob, you know, how does being a firefighter affect your life at home. I mean, I know that you both have kids.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you have a job that's deadly.
Mhm.
I mean, when you leave that house every single day, you don't know if you're going to come home every day.
No, you don't.
I mean, we see as pedestrians that we see the fire trucks, we see you guys and what you do, but we don't live it. I can't imagine going to work every single day and not knowing if I'm going to come home. How does that affect you guys, being parents and
it's scary.
being together? I mean,
Yeah. It
Just makes you appreciate things a little more.
it does.
Sometimes.
You never leave the house without a kiss goodbye. I mean, it's me mostly, but I make sure if he's still sleeping, I'm gonna wake you up for a kiss and tell you I love you before I leave.
Right.
Because I mean, even getting dressed in the morning when you're putting your uniform on, you're like, gosh, today might be that day I have that huge fire, and what if I don't come home? You'll go in your kids' rooms and you give them all kisses goodbye. I mean, I know I do, and I know he does it every single time. Before we walk out of that house, we go into every room and we give each girl a kiss. And
those are things that people don't realize. Like, you guys have real lives.
yeah, people don't
You know,
realize that we have families
we look
at
at you
home.
as Superwoman. We look at you
like
as,
robots,
as a like a Superman, but we don't realize that you have real lives too.
Yeah, and it's scary because both of us being in the field, knowing like,
Yeah, and you're
how-
together on top of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
has got to. I can't even. First of all, I can't imagine being with somebody. Period. And I can't imagine being with somebody that. Yes, I'm single. So, but then for them to, it's got to be a good thing because you can come home, and he can relate to you.
he can. That's
When you
the
do have a
biggest-
bad
that's-
day or when you
Yeah.
have some drama.
Bad
Because
call
I'm,
or
I'm,
something.
I'm sure, bad calls. I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's drama like any other workplace. I'm sure that there's stuff that goes on. So it's kind of nice for you guys to be able to have one another, but it's also, it's got to stink for you guys of going, oh man, I can't really pull one over her eyes, or
No.
I
Yeah,
can't pull
yeah.
one over his
Like,
eyes.
oh.
He knows
The
better.
sarcasm.
Oh, honey, I had a real bad night. It was a lot of calls, whatever. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah,
I was on the
Sarcasm
radio
gets
too, and I
pretty
didn't hear
thick at
nothing.
home.
What would you guys say the pros and cons would be being a firefighter?
I'd say a pro is the appreciation you get from the people who actually appreciate what you do for them, or you save their life, or
A simple
prevent
thank
them.
you.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's I gotta tell you, it's a thankless job. I mean, a lot of people don't say things. That's fine. It's not what we're here for. But when you do get that one that actually does say things, it makes it
All those,
gratifying, and it
yeah.
makes that 6 months of not hearing things worth it.
So you boggled my mind right now. Are you telling me literally there's months that go by that people don't thank you?
Oh, people
Oh,
are
yeah.
mean.
There's-
They take you for granted.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
If I needed something right now, I call 911 and there's somebody here within minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me that people are mean to our firefighters. That boggles
Oh, yeah.
my mind that you just said 6 months and you just said months goes by that people don't say, you know what? I get it.
Mm.
I get that it would suck losing your house or anything else, but we have our lives still.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Everyone's still alive. Everyone walks out of there, so that's the most important thing.
That's just crazy to me. So you know what? I mean, those of you that are listening, you know what? The next time that you see a firefighter, man, I mean, I guess, is this okay? Is this okay to be driving down the street and honk your horn and give you guys a thumbs up?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
We
Is it?
will smile and honk back.
We'll probably give you we'll probably give you the air horn back. It's like,
Hey, let me ask you this: do you
Yeah.
guys have sirens on your trucks?
No.
no. I mean, I'm not talking about your fire trucks. I'm talking your
personal
personal
vehicles?
trucks.
No.
No,
we
we
do
get
Okay,
not.
because
trouble.
I was just going to ask if you ever used it to get home a little bit quicker.
No, I wish sometimes, but no.
At least not the Chelsea's chili.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to with that one.
That is so you don't have your own like
No.
stuff
No.
on
That's
your own.
mostly paid on call or volunteer firefighters do that.
Okay. Well, what is the difference between a union firefighter and a volunteer firefighter? Is there a big difference?
Well, no, yes and no. I mean, if you,
title.
I say union firefighter, but let's say I could put it in terms of a full-time firefighter as opposed to a paid-on-call firefighter or a volunteer. Full-time, we eat, live, and sleep it. I mean, that's what we do. We were trained for that. We train every day. We are strictly firefighters. When you have paid-on-call or you volunteer, they're usually set in the base of another career. They might be a computer technician. They might be a car washer for all we know. I mean, they could do anything, but they volunteer their spare time to be a EMT, paramedic, firefighter to provide for the communities that they work for at the time.
So you talk about living at the firehouse. When you have a day, let's just, we were talking about you spend 24 hours there at a time. What do you guys like to do? When do you actually
Our
have
downtime?
your downtime when you're not cleaning toilets, cleaning the truck, going through the gear?
Yeah.
And I'm being kind of funny, but I'm actually being serious. I mean, can you guys work out? Do you play video games? Do you guys play card? Like, what does a firefighter do when there's nothing going on? Because I'm sure that there's some nights that you don't get a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's times for sure.
We have workout rooms though.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
If we get a spare time and we actually want to work out.
Okay, you're adults. I'm just curious. Do you have bedtimes?
No. I mean, well, yes and no. I
Okay,
mean,
no,
like,
yes and no.
I tell myself
Yeah.
yes.
When Lieutenant
but,
goes to bed,
yeah.
you got to be quiet.
Really?
I mean,
So there is quiet time? Like,
See, yeah, it's different for us. I mean, our lieutenants have their own specific room, so we have our own dorm to us guys and girls have our own dorm.
because when I did it for 24 hours, I was in a room with 6 other guys.
yeah.
And do you remember? And I know I'm going to take both of you back a little bit, but I remember when I went to bed that night, I had my boots next to me. I don't even know what you call them. I had the boots like with the with the whole
The
deal.
bunker.
Turnout, yeah, bunker.
Bunker.
pants.
Okay, yeah, my bunker, and I had it sitting there, and I couldn't sleep because I was so nervous because they said, Johnny, we are not waiting for you. I know that this is, you're hanging out with us, but there is no waiting. You got to be down there within like a 30. I mean, it was like some ridiculous amount
They'll
of.
leave you.
Yeah.
Yeah, adios.
And I was just mad that nothing happened that night. So do you remember the first time you first started work as a firefighter? Do you remember your first call?
Oh,
I mean, we
God.
all remember our first kiss. We remember our first job. Do you remember your first call? Or do you remember the first night that you were there and maybe nothing happened?
Oh, I remember the first night. I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I kept feeling drips on my forehead.
What?
And I was wondering what that was. I looked up at the ceiling and the guys put an IV bag up to the ceiling and dripped on my pillow. And I was wondering, how did they do that? Then I was thinking to myself, oh, I know where they did that. They closed the door so I couldn't go back there. They told me, we're having a talk. You guys can't come back here. So I go back. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And they're in there taking ceiling tiles down, putting an IV through the ceiling tile so it dripped my pillow perfectly.
That
And then
is
I wake
funny.
up to the drips. Yeah, it was the Chinese torture almost,
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So I remember that was my first night at the fire station. I remember that.
Do you remember your first night?
My first night, I was a nervous wreck. I couldn't sleep. I paced. I was too nervous because I'm a hard sleeper. Once I go to bed, I'm out.
Right.
And I was terrified of missing that tone go off and missing a call and not waking up.
Did
So
it happen?
No, actually, we had 0 calls that night. I paced the entire night sitting there and waiting for the call. I'm like, come on, I just want to call. I want to call.
How long did it take you to get used to actually being on call and being able to sleep? Can you guys actually sleep now? Can you go to bed and wake up?
Well,
Yeah.
but it's like that uneasy sleep. People think like, yeah, okay, you guys are firefighters. You guys, all you do is sit down around and lay around and sleep. But we really don't though, because our bodies are trained now. Like when we're there, we're waiting for that call. I mean,
Right.
we have our mics clipped on us. I turn mine all the way up so I don't miss it.
Right.
But I mean, you get an uneasy sleep. You go home, you can crash out. You don't got to wake up in the morning for work. You crash out. But when you go to work, like, hey, I'm probably gonna get called. So it's like an uneasy sleep. So when you go home the next day after 24 hours, you're still beat. People don't realize that.
Are you guys always on call too? Like when you're off, are you actually off or are you actually on call as well? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
What I'm
no.
trying to say?
So we're off, whatever. But if we get a serious fire, they'll do a page out,
An all call.
and they'll do an all call or a 999. They say, and what that means is, hey, we need guys to come in. If you can come in, come in.
All
so
hands
that's-
on deck,
So you
so
mean
everyone
you're
needs to
always
come in.
on call, but you're not though. Really, what I mean? It's
Right.
kind of hard to explain.
No. I totally understand because I mean you're not going to go in if you've been hanging out with some friends at a picnic
Yeah.
and
Right.
drinking some
right.
adult beverages.
Yeah,
You're not going to
no.
put your stuff on. Do you remember your most exciting call?
I remember some intense calls. I will say that. I remember when we just got off probation. My partner and I were both.
Now probation for being a firefighter, right?
Probation being a
let's-
firefighter.
Because,
And that was 2.5 years of being on probation. Which
wow, you're on
which
probation that long?
Yeah, normally they're about
What'd
a
you do
year.
wrong?
but-
Normally-
No, it's just no. Hey.
Mine was only a year.
No, yeah. Most apartments are a year, but we for some reason we're at 2.5. So I remember my partner and I was funny. My lieutenant was like, "Are you guys ready to be together like this?" Because we're on the ambulance together. We're the young guys, so we're always going out. We're like, "Yeah, for sure." And I remember getting this call for a motorcycle versus a vehicle, MVC. So we start taking off to whatever else, and the dispatcher keeps updating us. You know, we have a gentleman, you know, who's T-boned a vehicle with a motorcycle, whatnot. You know, has a leg injury and unconscious. We're okay. So we're getting a little, you know, amped up. Like, okay, it's gonna be a pretty serious call. And I remember getting there, and I remember like looking and seeing this guy laying in the middle of the road with the motorcycle next to him, and the car was actually a Challenger, an older Challenger. I remember seeing a ton of damage to the side of it. I was like, oh my God, this is not gonna be good. So I remember walking over to this, I would say walking, but running over to the patient with all of our gear and stuff. And I remember seeing him unconscious there, and I remember seeing like, you know, bleeding from his right thigh. I'm like, okay, so we got to, you know, do a trauma assessment, you know, check them all out real quick, you know, check all the legs, extremities, and whatever. So we get to his legs and we start, you know, cutting his pants up so we can see where he's bleeding from. And I mean, it was unreal. I mean, I remember just cutting up to his pants, up to his thigh, and all of a sudden you just start seeing like the blood and the fat tissue and the muscle and then the bone, whatever else. And only way I can explain it to give you kind of a visual would be like a bratwurst that was just split open. I mean, and not to get too gruesome with it, but
I think you were back being gruesome 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. So I mean, we just had hot dogs too that day. So, anyways, so yeah, we remember going there, and I remember looking at it, and it was split open from knee to the top of, you know, his pelvic area, whatever, and down to the bone all the way, and his femur was sitting there, and it was snapped. And I remember actually. I'll never forget it. I remember we cut open his pants, and his cell phone was in his pocket, and his cell phone was literally sitting in the wound, completely flush with the skin. And I just remember, holy crap, I cannot believe this is what's going on. But we ended up getting the guy backboard and C-collared and all like that, and taking him to the trauma facility in a matter of, you know, 15 minutes. And pretty much by the end of the time we left there, he was up and conscious and awake, and everything was okay. He just had a broken leg, and that was it. So
wow.
But it was a pretty intense call. I remember that it was our first day alone off of probation with no officers following us, you know.
Wow. So. That's crazy. Chelsey, do you remember your first exciting call? Was yours?
Yeah, I'm kind of the black cloud. I get all the bad calls since day one. No one wanted to be my partner because when I was on, for my first year of being a firefighter on probation, I had 4 structure fires, and the city hasn't had one in like 3-4 years. So they called me the black cloud. But my first bad medical, I'd say, I had a 7-year-old little girl get ran over by a car on one of our main roads, and I remember being a mom or a parent at that. Once you hear a kid come over the radio that you have a child down or any kind of kid call, your heart automatically sinks in your stomach. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting in the driver's seat because I was driving to the call, and my leg was like a jackrabbit. I couldn't stop it from shaking. It was just going up and down. I remember driving there. I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, hold it together. Like, get the frog out of your throat. Yeah. Like, you got to pull yourself together. Because people don't realize, like, we're humans too. We're not these heartless robots that a lot of us have kids and families. So when we go to these calls, you go there, you picture your own kid. Yeah. Like, you treat grandma like she's your grandma, and you lose, like, you gotta have a heart in this job. Yeah. So I remember going there and being sick to my stomach and getting out, and I see this little girl laying there, and I'm like, oh my God. And I just, like, if I picture if that was my daughter, I'd be losing my mind. And she was bad. She was in critical condition. Her skull was fractured open. You could see down to her brain. Her leg was snapped. Gosh. And I remember, like, all right, like, you gotta pull yourself together and not cry, for one. But I remember getting her in the truck, and I kind of get a little attached to my patients, which is good and bad, but I have a lot of compassion for my job. So I remember getting her to the facility and staying with her the entire time until they shipped her out to Children's, and I stayed with her dad, and I asked my captain, I'm like, hey, do you mind if we just stay through this? Like, just to see the outcome? Like, I want to hold this little girl's hand until her parents get here and, like, make sure she's not alone. Like, no, she's not alone. And we did. We stayed, and that was an intense call that I'll never probably forget. We always have those calls that follow you. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you guys are able to share your stories. I am going to get a little dark now. Have you ever experienced tragedies? Have you ever had anybody that one had to get pulled out of a fire because they had passed, or an accident that they did pass away? I mean, you're in that... Rob, you've been doing it for 11 years, and Chelsey, you've been doing it for how many years? 4 years now. 4 years. I mean, I hate to say it, but things happen. Yeah.
And how do you guys deal with being humans, being parents?
It's hard. I mean, you got your brothers and sisters in the department that you can talk to, but sometimes you need your alone time to debrief on your own and like gather yourself. Like I know if I get a bad call, I'll text Rob and be like, "Hey, I just had this call, like, and he'll be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Do you need to talk?" I'm like, "No, I'm okay," but like, or I will. We cry. I mean,
Yeah.
we're humans. We
Yeah.
cry. People don't realize, but we hold ourselves together when we need to do work. We're there to do work. We do work. But after behind closed doors, we all gotta cry. I mean, you can't hold it in, or you'll lose your mind just as anyone else.
I just played for you, and you guys heard it at the beginning of the podcast. You know, one line that I wrote in there: people think that you're made of steel,
They do,
Yeah,
but
far
people
from.
don't realize that your pain is so real.
and it follows us day in and day out. I mean, Rob and I both have calls that still stick with us till this day, and
Yeah.
you drive by that spot. I mean, we work in the town. Some of us work around the city that we're around, and you drive by that car accident that person didn't make it, and every time you drive by it, you picture it.
Yeah, I think everyone has their own, like I call it, bugaboo with a certain call that bothers them, or certain type of calls that bother them, and they'll never forget it. And then you have that landmark of the home that was in, and you just it's pretty much burnt like a photo into your back of your head. You know what I mean? You'll never forget it.
Okay, now we're gonna have some fun. I gotta get out of this
Yeah.
seriousness here.
Come
You know,
on,
I
Nick.
was like-
Come on, yeah.
But okay, so this has been in every single movie, in every single Hallmark movie,
Oh gosh.
every single commercial. It has been embedded in my mind and for 40 years. Have you ever got a call, a real call? Rob, I want you to be serious here. Chelsey, I want you to be serious. Have you
All right,
ever
let's
had
hear
to
this.
get
Let's
a
hear
cat out of a tree?
Oh Lord.
Like, okay,
yeah.
we see this, and I
All
know
right.
I know that it sounds funny, but not all calls are serious,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
no, there's some funny ones.
So,
well, I'll
have
tell
you
you
ever-
what. I've never had a cat in a tree yet, but I tell you what I have had. I've had 12 little ducklings stuck in a sewer,
Really?
and the mama duck wouldn't leave, and it kept, doing what it had to do, quacking or whatever you want to say.
Quack, quack.
yeah. It was going crazy. And we got a phone call for ducks in the sewer, so we had to go over there, lights and sirens. We because they weren't sure what was going on. They thought it was a kid actually inside of there. Come to find out it was ducks. Long story short, we ended up rescuing 11 of them. The other one ran away from us.
I like I rescued. Rescued.
We rescued and saved. I chalked those up as 11 wins. And the mom was happy. Just say that. So we made a good customer out of it.
Chelsey, how about you? I mean, have you ever had some like you pulled up and like I can't imagine. I mean, because you don't really know what you're coming to every
every
stop,
call's-
right?
every
Every
call's
call's different, right?
Yeah.
And you, Chelsey, you pull up and you're like, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah. I've never had a cat in a tree. I've had a cat in a sewer.
Yeah.
I don't know what's with the sewers, but never can I say I've had a cat in a tree, but we've undone the sewers and went down and rescued the little kittens and
Really?
yeah. I mean, that's what we do too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Besides ducklings and kitties, what's one of the craziest things that you pulled up and said, I cannot believe these people called 911 for us to show up here?
Oh God, I have
gosh,
a perfect
it
story for
started.
this one. Oh my God. I got a call one day in the middle of the winter for a lady who was in a car wash who was stuck in her vehicle
Wait, because it froze?
because it froze and because the garage door to get out of the actual car wash broke.
Oh, wow.
So she was stuck in there, the water sprayed all over her vehicle and it just froze her car over. Oh my God. I couldn't, I pull up, I'm like, what is going on here?
Like,
This
yeah,
lady was
because you guys
panicking
have to
and
hold it
everything.
together, right? You can't
You-
laugh.
Yeah, no,
It's
yeah.
so hard.
To them, it's serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to them it's serious. It's like the end of
Man,
the world.
talk
But to
about
us, we're like
laughing on the way
giggling
back though.
inside.
Yeah.
Chelsey,
Yeah.
how about you?
I mean, it just all depends. Every time you go to a call, you never know what you're gonna walk up to. It could be a call for someone unresponsive, and you walk up to little granny just sitting there with her life alert button on the porch. Like, I just felt like hitting it
Yeah.
to see some cute firefighters, and you
Yeah,
get those.
I've had that.
Honest to God, I'm just thinking why you guys are saying that. And I'm not a smoker, never smoked in my life. But do you have people that smoke that want to have a cigarette while they're on oxygen?
All the time.
All time.
It's
Wait,
ridiculous.
I thought that
They want to
this
smoke
was
in
gonna
our
be funny.
ambulance.
Believe it or-
Yeah, they
believe it or
like, hey,
not-
can I smoke? No, you can't smoke in here. It's
Yeah.
full of oxygen.
Believe it or not, there's like reasons why we have house fires because people smoke while they're on oxygen and it starts a
Really?
fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
yeah.
first house fire, my first
fatal was
apartment
like that.
complex was because of that. A grandpa was smoking on oxygen and lit up a cigarette, and the whole apartment complex went into flames.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then they have all the stash of 15 oxygen bottles in the closet.
Is that how we're telling how we met? On a big-
Oh,
on a
yeah,
big
that's how we
fire?
met. On my
Wait, you
first
guys
fire.
met on a call? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
please tell. Please,
okay,
the listeners
let's-
want to know.
Let's be honest about it. I was inside
Well,
the
please.
fire.
Well,
I was
we'll
the
let her
first
tell
one
the
Oh
story.
in.
wait, so wait, now so you let her go first.
Yeah, let her go first because the story gets real.
You got to make
true.
sure it's safe.
Oh,
for
no,
everyone.
I thought you meant
No, there's three sides of the story here,
said
Johnny.
you-
Hers,
yeah.
mine, and the truth. All right.
I'll be the judge of that.
right. All right. Let's hear his side. Let's do it.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. Chelsey, go ahead.
All right, I remember this was my first fire, and came out as a fully involved apartment complex, and I'm like, oh, I'm geeked. I'm so excited. I'm shaking. I'm nervous. I'm every kind of emotion you can think of. I want to cry. I want to laugh. And I remember driving there, and I see this fire, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's through the roof. The whole apartment complex is in flames.
8 units.
8 units. A lady already jumped from the second floor.
Wow.
We still had 3 dogs in there and another. They said my babies. People always say my babies. My
Okay,
babies.
so
my
babies don't always mean.
The babies don't always mean babies.
Humans.
Could be
babies could be
hamsters.
hamsters or
Okay,
gerbils.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Never fails.
me and my sergeant were the first ones in, and I remember going in thinking, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna get out of here," because we went in for the 3 dogs that were left, and we rescued one, but the 2 other ones that were on the second floor in the way back unit, that's where the fire originated from. So when we kicked the door down, I mean, it was flames, and the worst part about it was you could hear those poor dogs whimpering trying to get to them. And people don't realize that sometimes it's even harder to lose an animal too,
Right.
because they're so helpless and they're scared and they don't know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I remember that was pretty tough. So we get half the fire knocked down, and halfway through, maybe our ladder truck wasn't really working. So we call for mutual aid. We have mutual aid.
Did you say AAA?
Yeah, pretty much. You can call it AAA. I'd call it AAA.
AAA Fire Department on the way for your service.
I remember being up on the second floor and looking up. The whole roof's gone by now. So I remember seeing the stars, and I can see all the sky, and then I see
A shining light.
this guy with a big old
Yeah.
bushy,
Shining light.
no, not bushy, a big old curly mustache, and looking down at me, he's like, "Hey, you got to get out of there. I got a spray down there." And I'm like, "Who is this guy?"
Well, I was in the ladder truck. I was in the bucket with my
Wait a
chief.
second. If you're in the fire, doesn't he have a mask on and everything? Like, how can you even see what he looks
Oh,
like?
he's
No,
he's
I was
outside the
above,
fire.
so I
Don't
was
give him
above.
credit, Johnny.
Okay.
He wasn't in the fire.
So you're in the
I was
fire.
in
You're on
fire.
the outside. You come
I
out.
was there to save the day is what I was.
Gotcha. Okay.
And came in there and I was in the ladder truck with my lieutenant and my chief, and we were putting our deluge gun, which is a big, large diameter hose. It puts out about 1,000 gallons a minute of water. And she was in the room that was still had some hot spots, we call them, which is still got little fires that are under some debris and whatnot. So she was checking those, but we were told to put some water on it. So I told her, I
So they're
said,
thinking, "Get out, lady."
I said, if you don't mind, you want to get out of that room so I don't have to spray you with the hose by accident. And of course, I got the dirty look, and as if, and then and history was made from there, I guess. Then we
Well, it's kind
started
of funny.
talking.
You got him blushing, so that's even the funniest thing. So let me ask you this: have you ever been scared of heights?
I love heights.
No, I don't mind it either. I'm not scared of heights.
Wait a second. Now this is great for those of you that
don't-
can't see what's going on right now. Chelsey looked
Why am
at
I saying
Rob
I'm
like,
scared of
"What
heights?"
the heck are you talking about?" Rob is trying to be like that big, huge superhero with this.
As I'm puffing up.
Yeah. But you're scared of heights, Rob.
No, I'm not really scared of heights. No, I'll
Chelsey,
tell you what.
please tell. Please
No,
tell.
I'll tell you this. I was on a newer home. I remember I had a chimney fire one time. I was on the newer home. This is the only time I was really scared of heights. I was on the peak of the roof with a roof ladder, leaning over on top of the chimney about 50 feet up in the air because it's one of those newer, 3,000 square foot homes, looking down the chimney. as all my lieutenants and all my sergeants are all on the floor or on the ground laughing at me, and I'm literally just bouncing off of a chimney only, which is pretty, brittle at times when it's got heat to it.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, such.
And I'm leaning on it, looking down it, making sure there's no fire in the actual chimney.
Oh God.
And my ladder's shaking. It's 50 feet in the air. What do you expect? But otherwise, no, I don't. I enjoy ladder. They call me the roof team because every time I get a house fire, I'm always on the roof. Always putting holes in the roof. So
I like to go in.
It all sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than what I do.
Yeah.
Grab a microphone and that's about it. I'm like, hey, I hope that stage ain't too high. Has there ever been a time in your career so far, Chelsey, you've been doing it for 4 years, Rob, 11 years for you, that you didn't think you were going to come out, or that was the day that God was going to call you home? Have you ever been that scared?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have just yet, but I think that the reason why I say that is because if you don't go into a structure fire scared or knowing that something could happen to you, that's when bad things happen.
That's
to
when
you.
you get hurt.
So always be nervous.
Your guard goes down.
If you're not nervous or your adrenaline is not going, something's not right, and you need to back out. You get that sixth sense they always say. You do when you'll hear a crack or a creak. It's not your normal crack or creak, and then to get out of there. And there's signs, and they train you for that, a lot of it. But I mean, there's some things you just can't predict, also. But I haven't, thank God, at this time, in my career, I haven't had that where I felt seriously concerned. But I don't know what about you,
Chelsey. How about you?
My second apartment complex fire, actually. I remember being the first one in again, me and my sergeant, because when you're a probie on probation, you're always trained. Get your gear on quick as you can. If you want to get in the fire, if you want time, if you want to be in there, you got to be the first one dressed. So while you're driving to that call, you better have all your stuff on, and you better, when you jump out of that truck, you better be ready to walk into that fire. So that's what I always did. I used to practice day in and day out, trying to get my gear on the fast as I could. And that's what they always preached to me. And I remember when I had my second fire, I ready to go. No one else could get their gear on. Everyone's still fumbling around. I'm like, I'm ready to go, Chief. Like, where am I going? And me and my sergeant went in, and
do you pull up and go, what the hell?
I remember
get myself into.
When I'm driving to a call, I make sure I get my gear on. I'll take my phone out and I'm in the back, and I'll make sure I send a text. Rob, I love you. Give the girls kisses, and Mom and Dad, hey, I'm going to a fire. I just want to let you know I love you. Like, that's my thing. I always will send a text and let you know, like, hey, I'm going to a fire. I love you. If I don't talk to you in 4 or 5 hours, I might still be at the fire, but I'll give you a text when I'm done. Like, just to know, because I mean, when he texts me, hey, I'm going on fire, and I don't hear from him, I'm like listening to the radio, like, is he done yet? Like, I don't have a text yet. Yeah. But I mean, I remember going in, and me and my sergeant went in the very back, and we didn't have a flashlight. We're deep into the fire, and you hear the cracking, and then we have this thing called your alarm. It's pretty much a big alarm, a horn. It's like you got to get out. Something's bad on the outside that one of our officers see that we don't see in the inside, and it's get out. And I remember it getting hot, and the floor was spongy, and my sergeant was like, we got to go. Like, it's time to go. And we could hear the creaking and the cracking, and we would look back, and you see the fire crawling up the wall and going up the ceiling. And I'm like, so he grabs me, and I remember we slide down the stairs, and we barely made it out the door before it rolled over on us. And I mean, if it rolled over, you're stuck. I mean,
yeah,
there's no ifs, ands about it. That's the scariest part about it. And I remember being absolutely terrified. But you have a good team, though. I mean, you have good brothers and sisters that you can trust.
So that was just a real story. There's a lot of Hollywood stories out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shows out there, especially with reality TV now. We've all seen the movie Backdraft. I think that's what it was called. Back in the day, that was the big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has there, do you guys have a favorite show that you watch about firefighters that you're like, you know what, that's pretty realistic? Or is there one that you're like, that is nothing like the real deal?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like Chicago Fire, the show on was it ABC?
It's gotten better. At first, it was like, this guy has a heart attack, let me pump on his chest 3 times, and he's talking.
Yeah, I mean, some things are unrealistic, but in all reality, when when you watch them on the show, and you've been through the academy and stuff like that, they actually do stuff by the book, which is pretty cool to see that. It kind of gives people, the reality of.
And they're working out of a real firehouse in Chicago.
Oh,
they're actually
really?
out of a legit firehouse in Chicago, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you guys know that if I'm not, speaking on stages, motivating people, I'm at a NASCAR race interviewing NASCAR drivers. The number one question that NASCAR drivers always get is, how do you go to the bathroom during a race? And I know that sounds funny, and I know that you're not NASCAR drivers, but you sometimes are on a fire. You just said it. Sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 18 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes longer. You have a lot of gear on.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much that gear weighs, but it's got to be at least 100 pounds all together,
And
right?
you don't want to take it off
that's
if you
why-
put it
yeah.
on.
You don't want,
for
yeah.
sure.
So I'm just gonna ask. Rob's looking at me all funny, and Chelsea's like, "What the
So
heck?"
what do you
Like,
ask?
yeah, what do you like? If you have to go to the bathroom, you're in a fire, you have to pee. You forgot to go before you left. Like, I'd be peeing all the time in case the call came
Hey,
in.
it's
Like,
cold out and you want to warm up.
right? What happens? I mean, do you guys?
I mean, you always try to go before you get the call. You try to go.
Yeah, but
whatever
you
else,
but you
gotta
have like
go.
30 seconds to get downstairs.
Yeah, well, you push hard.
What happens, guys, if you have to go to the bathroom and you are on a call for a long time?
Well, I hate to say it, but probably like a NASCAR driver, you do sometimes have to do what you got to do in your gear. But I will say there was one time where I was on a structure fire, and this guy our engineer had to go to the bathroom real bad. And I remember being in the fire, and I'm fighting it, I'm on the nozzle, whatever else, and hitting it. And I look down, and I see my engineer come in, and I'm like, what is he doing in here? So I look him. He runs into the bathroom on the first floor while we're fighting in the second floor hallway.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I just heard you right. You're fighting a fire. Your engineer comes in. He looks at you and he goes back downstairs and he tells you that he has to go to the bathroom, basically.
Pretty much yelled out to us. Yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom. So we're laughing.
So
we're
he
like,
used
what in the world? And
He used the house, like the house.
yeah,
bathroom.
I mean, yeah. What else are you gonna do? It's not being occupied.
Was it
at
number
the
one or
moment.
number two? I'm just curious. Now.
Number two.
Wait a second. So he went poop in someone's house while the house was on fire.
Yeah, listen. It
you
happens.
gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Hey, yeah. Yeah, I went in there, I remember looking in there, and the door was closed, the light was on, and we were all laughing about it. We're like, you gotta be kidding me. This is not really happening. Oh, it was.
All these crazy questions that I came up with, I have the best answers. Let me ask you this. Do you have a routine or a ritual that you do on your way to a call? I know you just said a little bit, like you send a text message if you know that it's bad. But do you have like a ritual that you guys do every time you get a call, or a routine?
Routine call, like a paramedic call or EMS call?
No. I mean, for
Or a
you,
first-
that you do personally.
Personally.
Like
Yeah.
that you do, is it your left boot goes in first and your right one? And
okay, yeah.
Like, is there a routine that you do or a ritual that, I mean, do you pray on the way? I mean, I don't know what it is, but I mean,
For every structure fire, I always pray. I always pray to keep me safe and, watch over me and my comrades, whatever else and whatnot. But, when you come to like an EMS call, whatever else, they're so routine. I mean, I have a certain way I put my radio on every single time. I will say that I put it up to a certain volume every single time. I have or I turn
you
it
do
off
have
and turn it on.
rituals.
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
all have
kind
our
of
own little.
ritual or OCD, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's the same thing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I do. And structure fires are more of a ritual, though. You always pray, whatever else, and you always think it's like literally the quietest and longest ride ever to a house fire, because you think about all the stuff you got to do, all the things you have coming to you here soon. Make sure all your gear is right, whatever. Make sure your breathing apparatus is fine, and
Because there's a lot of chaos going on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Because
mean-
sometimes
Oh, yeah.
there are multiple departments there.
yeah, there's a bunch. There could be a ton of departments. The last one of the fires I had was 6 fire departments were there.
Wow.
And that was on the 4th of July, and that was a big fire going on from fireworks. And
Chelsey, how about you? Do you have a routine or a ritual that you do prior to, besides texting your family?
Besides texting my family, if I have like a weird feeling in my stomach that this is going to be a bad call, you just get that feeling. I do have a picture of my daughter and my family taped inside my helmet. So every time before I go to put my helmet on that call, I kiss my hand, I put my hand on the picture, and I pray on the way to my call and make sure to keep my safe, like I'm coming with my family. And that's every time, no matter what, I put that helmet on, I look at that picture. And
That's awesome. Because my next question was, do you have a good luck charm? And obviously you
I
do.
That's my picture that's taped in my helmet, and every fire, every call that I go on, I know that they're with me.
Rob, how about you?
Same thing. I have a picture of both our daughters, and my helmet taped, whatever else. And every time I go to a call, I look at that one, and kind of just thank God for all that stuff I have.
Has
and whatever else.
and I know we kind of brought this up earlier, but I know that when people get sick and they're in the hospital and stuff, I have went back and bought the nurses or the doctors like a nice gift basket or something like that. When you do go on a call, does anybody ever come back and give you guys something special? Or have you ever gotten anything special? Because I know even being a motivational speaker, I have people that have given me really cool things that I still, to this day, my backpack is packed with some things that I carry with me all the time. One is a border patrol officer, and it was blessed, and he gave it to me. And he says, "I've been traveling with this for 10 years, and I want you to have it now." And it just means so much to me. Has anybody ever came back to give you guys something?
I've had 2 people actually, and you don't think that it ever, because it doesn't happen much. I mean, like we
just
said,
crazy
it's a
to me
thankless job. I mean, they call and they expect us to do our jobs without a thanks, which is, we're not there to get a thank you. But
Right. I get it.
I had a little 4-year-old boy who was attacked by a few dogs, and outcome wasn't good. Little boy didn't end up making it. And I remember going with him and staying with him, and grandmother came back not too shortly, maybe like a week or so after, and she gave me a little guardian angel and told me to thank you and think of her grandson when I wear this. And ever since that day, it stays on my badge, and I wear it every day to work that I go.
Wow, that's crazy. Rob, you haven't had anybody?
I think I only had one time I had someone come back and they gave me a card, a personalized card, thanking them for it, what we did and how we saved them and, how much it meant to them, whatever else. But, and like I said, it's not what we're in the, it's not what we're in the job for, to get the thanks, whatever else. But when they do come back and give you that thank you, whatever else, it's a totally different ballgame.
I mean, I almost want to, like tonight, I just want to go grab $100 and I want to go to my local fire station and buy everybody like pizza or something and just say, you know what? You men and women flipping rock.
And people do that. I mean, people do that. They bring cookies, and all the people come like, "Hey,
especially
let us buy you
holidays.
Dinner tonight. We're gonna cater you KFC or something." And it's like,
that's
wow.
cool.
And
Yeah.
I mean, there's people out there that do that. They're just like, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys today." Like my son, we were driving by, we saw you guys clean your trucks, and he thought you guys were just so awesome, so he wanted to buy you something. And they'd come back and they thank us, and people don't realize like how meaningful that is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
Chelsea's really good at always bringing up like the next question I have, and she doesn't even know what I'm about to ask. So
I know,
that's actually really
right?
good. What has been the most rewarding thing outside of fighting fires? And I'm going to say it like this. I know as a child, which I know, guys, it was a long time ago. Okay, so Chelsey, I know, a few years ago. But kids often come through your fire station.
Mm-hmm.
Kids say the darndest things. They ask the craziest questions.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favorite story or memory of a child coming through the fire station? Or maybe let me ask you this, or just maybe a favorite story outside of fighting fires.
You go on that one first.
I'm actually big into all the PR and doing like going to schools and firefighters reading to the kids. And that's my thing. I love it. The kids love it. They get so excited. It's like Dr. Seuss week. And we go and read books to them. And
so do you walk in with all your gear?
Yep.
So you walk in and you read and you have all your gear on and everything else. So this morning, I'm thinking about you guys coming over today.
Yeah.
And Chelsey, I think about what you do for women, what you have accomplished, what you have overcame. And I had this visual. And Rob, listen, I know it's your girl, but listen, I had this visual of this thought, and that was, as the outsider looking in, when you guys have your gear on, I can't tell if you're a woman or if you're a guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're just a firefighter. You're not a woman. You're not a man. You're a firefighter.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you're out there for. But there's always a million people watching what's going on, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's always the why don't you know what you guys
Gawkers.
Yeah,
Gawkers.
right. So,
Yeah.
but this one time in my head, it was this little girl on her big wheeler on her little pink bike with the little strimly things down on her handlebars, and all of a sudden she sees this person come out of the fire. And Chelsey, it's you. And again, you look like a firefighter. You're not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And you take your coat off and your helmet, and all of a sudden your blonde hair is like flopping in the wind. And all of a sudden this little girl looks and says, Mommy, I want to be like her one day. I want to save people's lives one day. I can't help but to get a little teary-eyed here, but I mean, it's like you men and women that do this for a living don't realize the impact that you have on people's lives. So when you're walking into a school, I mean, I'm assuming that most kids are gonna be like, "Where's the fireman?"
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They
ask me, "Are you a firefighter?" Yeah.
So
I
that
get it
does
all the
happen,
time.
right?
People don't believe me. I'm
Right.
like, "Here's my trying to get a ticket one day," and I was like, I'm a firefighter. I'm like, I'm just, and he's like, you're a firefighter? I'm like, yeah, I really am. Like, let me just get you my ID. And he's like, oh, I am so sorry. And
what's the craziest thing that a child has ever asked you? Because I know that the kids have the darndest things.
Yeah.
They'll ask you how to start fires.
Yeah.
Really?
There's so many questions I
Wait
can
a
say.
second. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
No.
They will ask you how to start the
Well,
fire.
you always give them the scenarios of, oh, there's a fire in this room, or, go this way, go that way. They're like, what if there's a fire on the ceiling, the floor, the doors, all the windows, and my bed? What do I do?
I got it. Can I answer this one?
Go ahead.
Get out.
Yeah, right. Stop, drop, and roll.
Oh,
man,
my God.
they always come up with the craziest stories, and out of all people you think that will be able
They can
to
stump
make
you out
it,
of
yeah,
everyone.
stump you. They do it. They give you this answer question. You're like, I don't even know how to even answer that because that's tough.
I literally have just a couple minutes, so I want to get through these last couple questions.
All right.
So I want to know this. I was thinking about this today too, and it has no crazy analogy or anything else, but how can firefighters tell where a fire began when the house is completely burnt down?
That's an arson investigation question there. Most time, actually, you can tell where a fire's at because of burn pattern, or if the wood's more deteriorated in a certain spot. That's how you can know. So if you have a basement fire and everything's black down here and charred, if you can find where the wood is the most charred at and the most, let's say, decrepit or deteriorated, that's most likely where that fire began. And if, believe it or not, you can see a V pattern, they call it, of where the fire starts at, and it goes, fire expands as it goes higher. Excuse me. So that's kind of like one of the ways you can do it, but it takes a lot of teaching and learning and investigating to find out where the fire begins usually.
So are there advancements when it comes to firefighters? Like, where do you start off and where do you end up? Like, I guess the beginning would be just getting into a firehouse.
Probationary.
Probation.
Right?
You're probing.
And then the top would be chief, right?
Yeah.
So how does it go in between?
Yeah.
Like,
No one wants to be a chief.
What's the rankings?
Well, you go from like some departments have engineer, which you go from a fire.
So an engineer is a man
drives
or
the
woman
engine.
that
Yeah,
drives the big
absolutely,
engine.
yes.
Drives the big engine.
So you go
Okay.
probation or probationary firefighter. Then you go to a firefighter 1 or firefighter 2, depends on the department. Then you go to an engineer usually, which is the one that drives. It's like a promotion driving the engine around. And then you would probably end up going to sergeant. And then from sergeant, you go to lieutenant. And from lieutenant, you go to captain. And then from a captain, you go to the big man, chief.
Okay.
So,
Do you guys
every
ever want to
department's
be
different.
a chief?
Nah.
Or are you just happy doing what you're doing?
I like what I'm doing now. When I get older, maybe I want to be a chief. But right now, I like being in action.
Okay.
The adrenaline rush you can't beat.
Okay, this is a really good question too, and I can't wait for you guys to answer this because we're almost done. But what would be something that people would not even think about that would easily start a fire? Like, you show up at times and you're like, we've all told you not to do this.
Oh, God, I mean, we go on EMS call, and we'll go in the kitchen, and there'll be debris or paper and trash all
Newspapers,
over
everything
the
you think of.
stove. It's like, oh my God, what do you think how you start a fire? You know?
Right. So
Like
okay,
that, or
They
candles.
push it to the side and
Or
light a
Candles,
cigarette
put a-
while you're
put a
standing there.
candle,
Candles,
put a
yeah.
candle on a dresser under a window, like by where the curtains are at, or something like that.
don't do it.
all
Very
the time. Yeah,
flammable.
don't do it, please.
Rob, I know that you like to hunt.
Yeah,
Okay, I was thinking when I was writing these down in my mind, I was thinking how I would answer them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a firefighter.
yeah.
I would think the turkey that you put
turkey
in.
fryer,
fryer.
yeah. I'll tell you what, everybody listening, do not fry a turkey inside of a garage. Make sure you're outside on a cement pad.
Or a house.
Or in the house. Yeah. Or in the house. Everyone wants to go outside or on the deck. Do not do it on a deck.
So people do that.
All the time. I can't believe it sometimes. It's like, like they'll like literally put it on the deck, then they'll put like a tent over it, which heat rises, which catches on fire, which then goes down in that, or they put too much oil in there and it spills all over the deck. That's flammable. It's just it never fails.
Rob, Chelsey, this has been absolutely outstanding. I have one last question. I want you to think about this for a second.
All right.
What would be your advice to any up and coming firefighter? What advice can you give the person listening right now? Chelsey, it may be that little girl that's 7, 8 years old that says, you know what? Mommy, Daddy, she did it. I can do it. Rob, it could be somebody that's maybe confused and maybe they thought they wanted to go to school to be this or that.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't even want to go to school.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
they want to get into this. And maybe what advice can you give those young adults out there, those kids that might want to be a firefighter one day?
Well, our girls now, I mean, they say they come home, I want to be a firefighter like you. They go to their preschool graduation, I want to be a firefighter. And in our minds, we're like, no way. It's too dangerous. As parents, we're like, no, go be a doctor. Go do something good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you tell them, those little girls, I get it from the schools that I go to, like, I want to be a firefighter. And I tell them, you can do anything you put your mind to. If you have love and drive for it and you truly love what you do, you can do it. Anything you put your mind to. And I hope all these little girls out there have the heart for it and they put their mind to it and they go show how awesome and tough they are and they can do it too.
That is so cool. That is so awesome. So just a lot of heart.
You got to have a heart for this job.
Just follow your dream.
You follow your dreams. Be happy with what you do. I mean, you can't be sitting at a desk and being miserable and pushing papers.
They say you never work a day in your life when you love what you do. And I said,
I
I haven't worked a day in my life for the last 20 years.
I will say that. I mean,
I work hard.
Yeah. Oh,
I travel. I'm away from family.
Yeah.
I don't go to weddings. I don't get to go to funerals.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I miss.
Yeah.
And Rob, you know that. You know my story.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
I love it. I have a passion for it. Rob, what advice can you give somebody?
I would say just follow your dream and, keep the dedication to it and just be patient. I mean, Rome wasn't built overnight. That's for sure.
What took you almost 2 years, right?
It took me almost 2.5 years to get a job. And when you get a job, I can second that. I mean, in 11 years of being a firefighter, there's not one day where I woke up and said, I don't like this job anymore.
Right.
I mean, every day is a new thing. I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, I mean, you don't want to be behind a desk every single day. Nothing wrong with that. But as for me, I just don't want to be on a desk all day and doing computer work. I mean, every day is a new thing, a new call. There's no routine with anything. Just follow your dream. I mean, you can do anything you put your mind to. I mean, I see a lot of these younger kids these days that just give up so easily, and it's just frustrating because that there's so much more out there and to learn from, and you can be on top if you just put your mind to it.
Rob, Chelsey, it's been a pleasure. I thank you guys for coming here and hanging out with me
thank you.
for this last hour. This is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you thank you so much. You can listen to Outstanding Life podcast for free on SoundCloud.com, at MotivationalCowboy.com, and Apple iTunes. Again, this is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you be safe, have fun, and have yourselves an outstanding day.
Outstanding Life is a Soul Bridge Studio production.